Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Campfire Stories. Jay Smiley here, your tour guide into the strange, the unknown, the terrifying. Tonight's story is a submission from a member of the Grimm Society. Their name is V. Tears of a Clown. Have you ever remembered something that happened to you when you were young, then wondered if it really was just your imagination? So I was about 5 years old when my grandmother took me to the town fair. I was so excited. The lights of all the rides were lit up. The show lights on the tents were gleaming in the moonlight. You could smell the fried treats, and the cotton candy machine looked just like a dancing fairy in pink. I was so overwhelmed and I didn't know where to begin. Grandma was so happy when she saw the excitement in my eyes and told me that we were going to have so much fun today. But before we could explore the fair, we had to visit the restroom. I felt that I was a big girl now, so I told her that I wanted to go in on my own and that I would be right back. But as I entered that restroom, I noticed that the lights were a bit dim. It was stinky and old, and in my 5-year-old mind, it was starting to become a bit scary. But no matter how scary the bathroom looked, I knew that I just had to get this over with, and then I could enjoy the fair. I thought to myself that everything was okay as I started to walk down the aisle of stalls. I walked by each stall and ran my hand over the door as I passed by them. There was no one inside. I thought I was all alone until I got to the last stall, and it was closed and locked. I was curious, so I bent down to take a peek at who might be inside and saw a pair of large red shoes. When I saw this, I started to laugh and said sorry to whoever was inside, but whoever it was didn't say anything back. So I went into the stall next to the one that was occupied. As I walked into the stall, I heard a weird jingling sound. It sounded kind of like bells. Then a strange, high-pitched voice rang out from whoever was in that stall. "Please don't go," it said. "I want to play with you." As soon as I heard that voice ring out, I was completely startled. My heart jumped, but that voice made me curious. So I went to the front of the door and knocked, saying, "Hello? Who's in there?" As I looked under the stall a bit further this time and saw those big red shoes again, I then saw a decorative-looking pair of pants that had polka dots all over them. It all looked so funny to me. Those shoes were so big, and the blue and red polka dots on the pants made me laugh so loud. "Just open the door," the voice said as I laughed, trying to reach out to open that door. Whoever was in that stall, to me, seemed like a fun person. But as I did this, I started to hear him begin to laugh with me. It sounded fun at first, but then the laughter started to get louder and louder. The louder it got, the more hesitant I became. I just stood there, starting to become more and more afraid of that laughter. Then all the stalls started to shake violently. I could hear those bells jingling and heard banging on the other side of the stall door. I was so scared and just wanted it all to stop. So I turned and ran to the exit as fast as I could, but before I got there, all the noises suddenly stopped. As I turned around to look, everything seemed normal again, and I could hear a strange noise coming from inside that stall. It sounded just like balloons that were being blown up. Then I saw them. They were so shiny, red, blue, yellow, and green, and they were coming out of the top of that stall. "Don't go," the voice spoke out in a friendly way. "I'm sorry I scared you. I want to be your friend. These are for you." My eyes lit up when I saw those balloons. I started to slowly inch closer to that stall door. That's when I heard him say my name. But how did he know my name? As soon as I heard this, I was instantly terrified. I started to yell out as loud as I could for help, screaming out for my grandma. As I did, I saw the stall door open and saw a big man step out. I saw his red shoes and his polka dot clothes. They all had red stains all over them. His face was covered in white and red makeup, but there was something wrong with it. It looked terrifying. And the smile he gave me, the way he looked at me, like he knew me, scared me completely. So I closed my eyes as tight as I could and screamed for my grandma. As I did, I felt someone pick me up, and I yelled out in horror. I thought he got me. Then I heard my grandma's voice and felt her hand on my face. She was frantically asking me what was wrong and if I was okay. I screamed out so loudly, saying that he was gonna get me, and pointed at the stall. But when I did, there was nothing there. Grandma didn't look very happy and told me that it was just my imagination. I didn't understand what had happened or where that man had gone, so I became very upset. So Grandma decided that going to see the main show that was about to start would make me feel better. As we walked to the show, we stopped and Grandma got me a big stick of cotton candy. This made me start to feel a lot better, and as we passed by the huge Ferris wheel, I begged her to let me go on the ride. But Grandma insisted that we had to see the show. She said that it would be so much fun and that I would love the clowns. As soon as she said this, my heart almost stopped, and I saw the big tent that we were heading to. It had those same shiny balloons all over it. Red, blue, yellow, and green. And there was a giant red one tied to the top of the tent. My jaw dropped and I stopped dead in my tracks. My grandma started to tug on my arm, telling me to come with her, but I couldn't. I was trying so hard to tell Grandma that those balloons were his balloons, that I didn't want to go in that tent, that I didn't want to play with him. She started to pull me closer and closer until we both heard a big commotion stirring up from inside the tent. Then we saw a group of police officers start to come out. We saw them wrestling with a big man that was dressed in a polka dot clown suit and had white and red paint on his face. It was him. And he was staring right at me, smiling. Before I could say anything, Grandma pulled me close to her, and we watched as the police took that man away. When we got home, I started to get ready for bed, and I overheard Grandma telling Mom what had happened at the fair. Her voice was stern. She was saying that we shouldn't have ever gone to that fair. She started to describe that man and said that he was arrested for murder. That right before the show was about to start, another employee had found the body of a dead 5-year-old little girl in his prop trunk. She said she talked to some of the employees and that they were all shocked that the man had been working there for so long and that he seemed like such a fun person, that the children all loved him. But then my grandma paused and lowered her voice and started to say how weird it was that the little girl that was found had the same name as my name. When I heard this, I froze. I couldn't stop seeing his face in my head. I went into my room to go to sleep, and as I laid down, I pulled the blanket over my face, trying to forget about what had happened. Then I heard it. The bells started to jingle. The sound was right next to me. Why didn't you play with me? I heard as the voice rang out. These could have been yours if you would have just helped me. I tried to scream, but couldn't. I was frozen. I was so scared. Then the laughter stopped. I laid there shaking, waiting for that man to pull those covers off, waiting for him to get me, but he didn't. I finally got up enough courage to pull down the blanket, but when I did, all I saw were those shiny balloons floating in my room. Red, blue, yellow, and green. I looked around, but there was no one there. I jumped up and started to grab the balloons. I had to show my mom, but as I did, they all started to pop. I ran out of the room screaming for my mom and showed her all the pop balloons and told her what had happened to me in that bathroom. My mom looked confused and told me that everything was going to be okay, that I didn't have to worry about that bad man anymore, that my imagination was just trying to scare me. No matter what I said, I just couldn't convince her that the man I saw with the police was the same man that was in the bathroom. To this day, I still see him from time to time in my nightmares. Thank you, everyone. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button so you won't miss out on more campfire stories. And tune in next time. We upload 2 times a week every week. And if you have a story that you would like to submit for a future episode, make sure to email it to us at thebrothersgrimm@gmail.com. Until next time, stay smiley, everyone.